computational thinking, and structured programming in C, on behalf of Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and Karasaram Academy of Research and Education, along with Computer Society of India, we hereby take the privilege to welcome our distinguished resource person, Dr. P. Jayapurvam, Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science, Chennai, has a BTech degree in Mechanical Engineering from Coventry Engineering, Trivandrum, and MS degree in Software Systems from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani, and ME degree in Computer Aided Design from Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. He has completed PhD from NIST, Chennai. He has over 30 years of teaching experience and specialized in computer aided design, drafting, and manufacturing. He has published 12 research papers in international journals. He has authored many textbooks for engineering students, which include engineering drawing, graphics, computer programming in C, and CNC machines. We are so grateful for your acceptance of knowledge sharing through this webinar. We wholeheartedly welcome you to this program, sir. Welcome, sir.
So very good afternoon, madam. Very good afternoon to all the students. I understand the students here are studying third year and you are going to the final year. Almost all the basic subjects are computer science you might have studied now. Probably you will be specializing into any one project work now. Probably I think this webinar may be useful to you for that aspect. Before we start the webinar, I circulated one assessment to all the students and I got the responses. About 150 responses I received. I understand 2/3 of the students have scored more than 80%. That is answered about 88 questions. That is really very good feedback. And normally we expect about 1/3 because we did not give any time for preparation. So directly as a surprise that has been circulated. Probably some of you might have referred the textbook and answered. Even then also you did well. It's okay. You can refer the textbook and answer. But the only thing you should not copy from somebody. Individually you can refer, assess and give the feedback and answer. But you should not copy because that is somebody's knowledge. So you have to respond only from your knowledge. In support of your knowledge, everyone can also refer the textbooks. I would like to share a few points related to that because after 1 year you are going to work in a company or you are going to have your own business or you are going for higher education. So you need to know a little more what is expected from the industry and really you are performing to your capability or your performance is under or little more. If your performance is more, you have to thank to the faculty and institution. How do you assess your capability? The next slide. Of course, today's agenda, the review on your assessment, then about computational thinking, then about the structured programming in C, and finally we have questions and answers. You can assess your capability this manner. This over a period of time, that is about last 25-30 years, I am just assessing the students who are all studying in our institution, and it is perfectly matching. You just to take a look at your 10th standard performance, take a look at your 12th standard performance, which will be almost the same. If there is a difference, it may not be more than 2%. Right. After entering to the higher education in engineering, your expected CGPA about 8. Suppose someone got 90% in 10th, 90% in 12th. It is average marks. The CGPA expected is 8. If it is more, the institution has contributed. If it is less, then you have damaged yourself. Whether institution damaged or you have damaged yourself, right? So you have to take care. So if it is less than that prescribed number, you need some sort of counseling or you have to review your performance. Even though you are much capable, but you have not performed well. So you concentrate more on your project work. By the way, you can prove yourself. You can also do better, right? Many students they maintain the same level of performance, and probably they will get placed on their own with a little bit of training on soft skill as well as a little bit of motivation, right? So this is about you. Do you agree with this? Any one student can give a feedback. Any one student? Hello? Participants, whether I say is correct or not, you have to give a feedback. Any one student can switch on your mic and say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Right. So over a period of time, I have assessed this. This is almost true. Right. Now we go to the next. Anyway, our agenda today is about computational thinking. What is this computational thinking? So whatever you do, this is from your thinking. Any work you do, it is completely from your thinking. But this is related to the computation. Computation, normally we consider in mathematics, and the same thing applied to any problem solving technique. And your thinking may be correct, your thinking may be wrong. Anyway, this is the fundamental skill very much required for everyone in this century. So this computational thinking is a must for everyone living in this 21st century. So what it is exactly? So consider a few examples, then we'll go to the real thing, right? You have got a data. When you think about writing a computer program, you have to think about the data. What are the data available? So which are the data is really required to solve the problem? That is one. Second, reformulating a difficult problem into one which we know how to solve. You are reading a problem, may look difficult or different. You just think such a way that you can bring it down to one or few problems which you can solve easily. Next, these are all quite something we use in every programming class. Now, using a new concept or idea, you can decompose the problem, which may be complex in nature, in small functions or subprograms you can think of and solve. These are all quite normal thinking. Then, from your daily life, some of the documents we have, we just arrange. What is the method we follow? As per our convenience, we do. And there is a problem. You go to the supermarket for billing, you stand in a queue. Sometimes you stand in a queue which moves faster. Sometimes you stand in a queue which may not move at all. Right? How to choose a queue? Then at home, you cook as well as do some other work parallel, like washing. Washing, loading in the washing machine, do parallelly because it takes some time to wash. At the same time, it takes sometimes to cook in the pressure cooker. So you do parallel processing also, right? How do you do that? That's what the computational thinking. Which one you do first, cooking or washing, or do washing some part of the work, come back to cooking, or do some part of the cooking, then go back to the washing. So you do parallel. Both the works are going on parallel. Suppose you do separately, you cook for 2 hours. After 2 hours only, you go for washing. Then washing machine, it takes about another 2 hours. So totally 4 hours. If you do parallel, within 2 hours, both the works will be completed. Right? This is another example. Then computational thinking and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. A few examples. So analyzing the MRI data with the machine learning algorithm. This is one example, a little high end. Then chemistry, choosing the right chemical for the 100% reaction. There are so many choices of chemicals for some reaction. How to choose the appropriate chemical? Then in engineering, one of the simple example we understand is every component designed is tested. So mechanical components, of course, smaller in size, they can be tested in the laboratory for the required stress or strain or strength, simply you can say. Then the aircraft, it is also tested, but the aircraft itself very big. How do you test it? But when you start the engine, aircraft engine, move on the runway, it has to fly. How do you test it? You cannot make one and test. Any failure comes while flying, that will be fatal accident. But it has to be tested correctly, and the reliable data should be obtained. And for that also, you can use the computer. There is a system available like wind tunnel, like a wind tunnel. In wind tunnel, only the model can be tested. Small size of the aircraft can be tested. But even that also very expensive, very expensive. It is also not reliable 100%. But the same work you can do in computer graphics, computers in the form of computer simulation. Computer simulation, you can do a graphic simulation or data simulation, and it is tested, and the performance of the aircraft is validated. Then it is made and it is put into action. So by doing it in computer, so much cost they can save. Right. So now we go to the characteristics of computational thinking. A few points, theoretically I say, then practically I say how to go about that. Right. When you think about solving a problem, first you understand what are the related data. Understand the problem, then understand the data. The problem may be analytical in nature. Problem may be combination of logical and analytical thinking, or problem may be a little different from that also. Sometimes you may not be able to understand how this problem can be solved in computer by writing a computer program. So you make a brainstorming, read the problem many times, and just to formulate one method by identifying the right data as well as the method or the tools. Then second point, logically organizing and analyzing the data. The data what you collect should be arranged logically in the way it is expected. At the same time, analytical knowledge, whatever required, you should get that also. Because we come across many methods to solve a problem. The variable can be declared as a normal variable, scalar variable, or it is declared as a subscripted variable with a linear array or multidimensional array, or the variable values can be stored in a database if the quantum of data to be assessed is more. So like this, many choices are available. So which choice you are going to have? And again, like a pointer, in C we are using a pointer. So where you are going to use a pointer to handle the data, by the way, the execution of your program will be faster. Right. So logically organize and analyze the data. That is another point. First, identify the data, then arrange the data, then represent the data through abstractions such as models and simulations. Normally, we think of writing a program. So now there is one step ahead of that. We say model. Model, the problem solving model is generated. And problem solving can be done through simulation. Simulation is a kind of getting the answer through data simulation. It can also through graphics. So graphic simulation we use in mechanical engineering. So when we do machining, we have to go to the particular machine tool, maybe a drilling tool or a turning tool or grinding tool, whatever it is. And we write the computer program, and that is called a CNC program. And whether the program is correct or not, you cannot get a discrete value like the one we get in computer science. There, the model excess material will be removed. Suppose a hole is drilled using drilling machine, right? You are removing excess material in that job. So by the way, the hole is generated. The tool used is the drilling tool. Whether the tool will drill the hole in the right location or not, we can simulate it. Suppose many holes are there, you can simulate it. And it is called graphic simulation. Similarly, we come across the data simulation. Data simulation is the one used in data science, right? So used in artificial intelligence and most of the aspects, they do the data simulation. A model is generated and simulated for the results. So you have to think about your problem. In which category your problem comes under. And then automating solutions through algorithmic thinking. So algorithmic thinking is the one normally we follow. So what is first, what is next? We write the steps. What is first, what is next? If the problem is very complex in nature, we develop so many subprograms. Subprograms, the functions, right? So how those functions are and how to use the data in all those functions. Logically organizing, analyzing already, I think this point is repeated. Then next point, generalizing and transferring this problem solving process to a wide variety of problems. That means first to take a small problem, right? And you just validate the results and generalize it. Generalizing is very important. And this is what I will just to tell you in the C program example. I am going to tell you a C program small example. I'll just tell you how to make a generalized algorithm, by the way, which can be extended for similar kind of problem, but maybe handling a large quantum of data. So next, computational skills are supported and enhanced by number of dispositions and attitudes. Right. So your computational thinking skill, depending on your confidence. If you are confident, you deal with any kind of complex problem. If you don't have confidence, you cannot write a computer program or you cannot generate a model. So it is depending on your skill. So this computational skill of confidence, it is a soft skill. What is your confidence level? You will be confident if you are confident in writing coding. You will be confident if you are confident of collecting the correct data, right? And then again, if you are good in any programming language or methodology, automatically you will solve any kind of problem. Only the time taken to solve the problem may be more, otherwise it's okay. Then persistence in working with the difficult problems. You should not get disappointed. You should show your soft skill of persistence in working with any difficult problem. A tolerance for ambiguity. Tolerance, you should not get angry. You should have a tolerance. Tolerate with the ambiguity. Something may not be clear. So time being, but after some time you may get the correct answer. So you should have some sort of tolerance. All the 3 points like confidence, persistence, tolerance are the soft skill related to computational thinking. So you are going to get trained in soft skill. That is a soft skill to deal with the co-workers or with the public or interpersonal communication or approaching a problem. But this is completely depending on your computational thinking. You should have a confidence to solve a problem. You should show persistence in your working. You should have a tolerance for any kind of ambiguity. Then ability to deal with open-ended problems. Ability to deal with the open-ended problem. Open-ended problem, you may see that the problem may not have a discrete value. This is the definite value for that problem. We may not be able to tell, right? So the answer you get, the solution you get, maybe a suggestion in the form of suggestion, right? So you should have that ability or improve that ability. Then finally, the ability to communicate and work with others to achieve a common goal or solution. A single man cannot do everything. So it is always from a team. There will be a team leader. So every individual in the team will be contributing to the problem. So you should have the ability to communicate everything in the right way to the team members and get the solution for the problem. These are all some of the computational thinking skills expected from you. Even your project work, you may be doing in a group of 3 or 4 members, or at least 2 members. You should have the ability to communicate everything to the other member. You should not discourage him and don't tell him you do not know this, you are not doing this. You try to get the work done. Suppose he is not doing, you try to get the work done. So that itself one of your soft skill which is expected for computation. Right. Then about your logical thinking. So logical thinking. So already in your programming class, your teacher might have told you how to think logically to solve a problem. So logical thinking, the mathematical problem, of course, the mathematical methods are there, steps are there. Use one of the mathematical tools to solve it. So what is this mathematical tool? Suppose there is a set of equations given. 3 equations are given, simultaneous equations. I understand every one of you know what is a simultaneous equation. So the simultaneous equations are 3 equations are there. So there are 3 parameters, the x, y, z. All the 3 are to be solved. So you can use a method like Gauss elimination method. It is one of the methods. It is coming under numerical methods or Gauss-Seidel method. So you learn that method, then only you can able to solve this problem. If you do not know that method, you cannot solve the problem. So like this numerical integration, you got a Simpson rule, trapezoidal rule. So what is that Simpson rule? What is that trapezoidal rule? So there is a differential equation, how to solve it. There is a Runge-Kutta method. There is a Runge-Kutta method. What is this method? How the problem can be solved in Runge-Kutta method? These are the mathematical tools. So like this, there are so many mathematical tools available for problem solving. You should choose the appropriate mathematical tool to solve the problem. If you do not know the mathematical tool, definitely you cannot solve the problem. You can do only simple kind of data processing. Right. That is one kind. Second is your logical thinking, your order of thinking. How logically you can think. Right. So for example, you are going to find a number which is guessed by someone. I ask you to guess a number between 0 and 127. How do we know what number you have guessed? You might have guessed 25. How do we know that? I can ask you some questions. I can ask you some question. For that answer, you will say only yes or no. For that answer, you say yes. Question, you say yes or no. So within 7 guesses, I can able to tell you the number you have guessed. That is mathematically possible. Similarly, even the number little higher, between 0 and 1023, you need little more guesses. Within 10, you can develop a program which will put forward about 10 questions. Within few questions also, it can tell the number, right? So within 10 guesses, it is possible to guess the number. Suppose the number is very big, like 10,48,575. Between 0 to that, it is possible to guess within 20 guesses. So how do you frame this yes or no? That is depending on your mathematics. Like you can ask one question, is the number is odd or even. Suppose I say odd. Yes. Is the number is odd? Yes. Then you can omit other half. Right? Is the number divisible by 5? Maybe yes or no. So like this, depending on the answer yes or no, you can able to put the next question. Right. So this is logical thinking. Any problem you can formulate the set of logical questions. Right. Right. So then again, using your analytical skill, using your logical skill, you formulate your computational thinking. So which mathematical model to be selected, what kind of logical thinking to be included for this problem solving, right? And go to the next level. Next level, I discuss what is the data. So data, so this is quite elementary. Every one of you know the data. But normally we think of the data as a number. Normally we think of the data as a number. How this data is available with the computer? Whether it is a data is a number or symbol or graphic image, whatever it is always stored in the form of binary in zeros and ones. And the data may be a string of characters, right? So whatever it is, everything is stored in the form of zeros and ones. So whether it is a number or letter or symbol, everything represented in binary. So your data is always a binary data, right? Then the data may be a graphic data. Data may be a graphic data. So which is available in the form of graphics. You can also get the input from the screen. How do you get it? In the screen, you display some messages. You can ask the user to select. So using the mouse or a touch screen, they select, right? And you get the data from that. Get the data from that. So how the screen is arranged? It is in the form of pixels arranged horizontally, vertically, and it is called resolution, monitor resolution. Maybe around 1024 pixels horizontally and 786 pixels vertically, right? So in a matrix form, horizontally some fixed number of rows and vertically some fixed number of columns, right? So by the way, you can choose the data from the screen and that may be used as an input, right? Then the data may be in the form of a drawing or photograph, images, right? So the data may be a number, data may be a string, data may be from the screen, or data may be some other input. Even the video image or the photographic image, that can also be taken as a data, right? So normally we think of data is only number. When we write simple programming, C programming, we consider only that. But you should not restrict that. Data may be of many types. These are the commonly available types. Right? Now you come across the data science. So now the data science is quite popular. So everyone is talking about the data science, right? So what is this data? Data about that data you have seen, right? Right? So you are studying computer science. So you know about the data. So the data, it is a big data. The big data available in internet, in website, some of the data. Of course, some of the data available elsewhere also, right? So in computer science, normally you deal with the big data. Then the problem is related to some business. The problem is related to some business, or the problem is related to engineering discipline. So maybe any nature. The problem may be with the mechanical engineering, maybe with electrical engineering, maybe with the aeronautical engineering, anywhere. So we discussed one of the computational thinking example, the Boeing 777 aircraft tested in a graphic simulation other than wind tunnel, right? So how much data used? A huge amount of data. So there actually the testing is really very challenging. Normally the data, the number, And we also represent the number as a coordinate. The coordinate, a pair of numbers, maybe x coordinate value, y coordinate value. A pair of three coordinates, x, y, z. But in the case of aircraft, the testing is always in three-dimensional. So always three-dimensional, because the aircraft can move in three directions: forward, sideward, upward. Right? So then again there is a rotation. There is a rotation. There is a rotation for the aircraft. If you take an example for an automobile, the automobile moves on road. Suppose it is going at the speed of 140 kilometers per hour. Suppose it is hitting against some vehicle, right? So what will happen? It is an accident. To reduce the impact of the accident, how the vehicle to be designed? So now how the vehicle to be designed? They say airbags are provided. Airbags are provided. So the impact of this collision is very heavy. Airbags alone cannot save a person. Something more is required. If you see any accident of a latest vehicle, latest car, when it is hitting against some other vehicle, the whichever component hits, the front portion hits, normally front portion will be damaged heavily. But if you take a old ambassador car, even though it is hitting against some other vehicle, the front portion, whichever portion hits against some other vehicle, will not have that much damage. But the latest vehicle will have more damage. Why? The impact is absorbed by the vehicle. It is designed such a way that the impact of this accident is absorbed by the vehicle. By the way, some sort of deformation takes place in the vehicle. Because of that, the impact is not passed to the passenger. It is not passed to the passenger. A simple example to understand this: you take a hammer. Take a hammer. Simply drop it on the floor. What happens? Or strike it. It bounces. If you strike with the higher force, it will bounce it will bounce back fast. And the same hammer you just use and strike it at the ground. Ground, it is sand. When it is strike against the sand on the ground, what happens? Some impression is formed in the sand. The hammer is not bouncing back. Why? Because of the formation of the impression there, that the energy what you have used to strike it out has been absorbed there. So the energy of that impact is absorbed there. So already we have studied the science. Energy neither be created nor be destroyed. It is transformed from one form to another form. It is transformed from one form to another form. So what is the form of energy used in computer science? You are also using one form of energy. Every engineering, there will be energy. Without energy, there is no engineering. Right? If it is mechanical, I say the thermal energy. Right? Chemical engineering, of course, chemical reaction, chemical energy, because of the reactions. Like this in computer science, what is the energy you are using? Any answer from the audience? What is the energy you are using? Normally, what is the input we give to the computer? Can anyone answer to this?
Code.
What is the energy you are supplying to a computer?
Coding.
Coding. Hello? Krishna?
Yes, sir. Coding is the energy for the computer science student.
Right. Now I'll remove one energy from your computer. I'll just unplug your computer from electrical. That electrical energy is withdrawn. Will you give the coding? So in engineering point of view, the energy given to the computer is only electric current. That electric current is a sine wave. That electric current sine wave in your switch mode power supply converted to DC. That DC is a square wave. That square wave presence of the signal is taken, assumed as 1, absence is assumed as 0. That is what you say the input is given in terms of binaries. So earlier slide I have shown something like a binary string. So that how the binary string is obtained mainly from the electric current, that is transformation of your electric current in AC to DC, and that DC current represented to represent your data, right? That is used to represent your data, right? That is what you say binary. Otherwise, how the computer system will work? See, when something is passing from one to another, there is a carrier. Some way it is going. So electrical energy is used in computer science or in any electronic or electrical appliances. It is DC, the power supply obtained from your domestic power supply or from battery. Right, from any source you can get it. So why I stress on this? Many times we study so many things, but we may not know exactly what form of energy is used. Right now, actually, I am in Hindustan University on Old Mahavir Road, Chennai. Infosys is having an office on that road, OMR. Nearby, there was another mechanical company which was doing some welding work. So Infosys made a complaint to the government that relocate that mechanical industry, because that mechanical industry doing the welding work. Why they asked? Because of the welding work, the electric spark is generated. This spark damaged their data. How the data is transferred? Through wireless to the satellite, it is transferred, right? So the data has been affected by the welding process in the nearby mechanical industry. So finally, government suggested them to relocate. They moved to some other place, because Infosys is a bigger company, other company is a chota company, small company, right? So when you know exactly what is happening in our data processing, you may be doing everything correctly for a remote customer. You do everything correctly, but he will say so many complaints, not working, this or that, all those things. Maybe because of the data losses. Because it is also electricity, that is also electricity, right? So it will interfere. Sometimes the data may be lost, like the thunder and the lightning. Which was the last one? Yeah, I think this one I have to tell you, right? So about the data, about the engineering domain knowledge, then you need so much mathematical and statistical aptitude. So normally the mathematical aptitude is very much required. Without the statistical because some of the problems are solved statistically, many of the business problems, and many of the engineering problems are from the core mathematics. So you need so much knowledge in mathematics and statistics. But normally, when sometimes the engineering students say, "Sir, mathematics, it is very difficult for us to reduce the workload of this mathematics." But you should think, without much mathematical knowledge, many of the uh, computational problems or which are little complex in nature cannot be solved. Big data, the data science is the one where you come across the domain knowledge of engineering, your computer science knowledge, as well as the mathematical knowledge. Without that, that problem cannot be solved. Right? Right. So now come to the data again. The data may be a structured data like the one I mentioned earlier. It's available like numbers and strings. Numbers and strings, a very structured one. This is what we have used till now. Many of us are using only that. And the data may be an image, maybe a video, right? So it is considered as a unstructured data. Actually, for my research work, it is a characterization of machined surfaces through image processing. Machined surfaces, that means we do a lot of machining work in the machine, like drilling, like a planing operation. We do many operations. I selected the plane surfaces made in a planing machine. How to assess the quality of the surface? Normally, we can touch a surface and say it is smooth or rough. But here, I have to tell whether the surface is smooth or rough. depending on the image quality. I have to take the image, right? So the data I have to obtain from the image. So data obtained. So if you touch a surface, if it is rough, if it is fine, your common sense will give you the meaning, right? What is rough, what is fine or smooth. But here the image is available. How to use the image data? So it is something unstructured. If you look at one place, maybe of little different quality. If you take little away from there, maybe of different quality. So the quality may not be consistent. So which is unstructured in data. So it is quite common in images as well as video. Video depending on the light. Even images also depending on the light, the data will be varying. Varying means it is not in particular structure. If it is structured one, you can tell easily. If it is unstructured one, little difficult to do it. Right. Then again, when you come across the structured or unstructured data, we normally develop a model. So the model uses some supervised learning or unsupervised learning or semi-supervised learning. These three are quite common when you develop a program for artificial intelligence or machine learning and so on. Right. That is what this data science has become very popular. So other discrete problem solving, we know the knowledge. When it is little away from that, we develop a model. That model may use the supervised learning. In a supervised learning, there is an input variable. Correspondingly, there will be a output value or variable, and probably you'll be using an algorithm to get the output for the given input. Unsupervised learning, you have no corresponding, there is some input, you have some input and no corresponding output, not a corresponding output, maybe little different. And it may be in the form of suggestions also. It may be in the form of suggestions, may not be a discrete number as the output, right? Maybe a suggestion. A semi-supervised mixture of supervised unsupervised learning, you get some sort of discrete answer as well as some sort of suggestions from the processing, right? Now, computer science, data science process. So your data science process, depending on some of your understandings related to the business. So related to the business, depending on the problem, your understanding, completely study the problem, you plan the solution method, assess the availability of resources and the assessment tools and techniques. All these things you have to use from your knowledge, whatever you have studied earlier. The problem may be for different business, may not be from your computer science. Whatever it is, you supposed to understand the whole thing and to identify the data, collect the data after making a thorough understanding of the problem, and from the data explore and verify the quality of the data also. You cannot immediately say this is the data very much required. So it needs some sort of understanding to validate. Even sometimes after making a few runs only, you will be knowing whether the data is useful or useless, right? So understanding the business problem, understanding the data, and selecting the appropriate data for your problem, and construct the data in the required format. Appropriate data size, everything should be used. You need an operation like cleaning the data, refresh the data. Then develop the model. There are many techniques available to develop the model, and you should also test the model or test the design, and build the model and assess the model. Here, build and assess the model, nothing but it is a computer program. It is done as a project work. It is the bigger work. The data may be a discrete number or little unstructured data. You collect all the data and select the required one and create a program, create a model based on the particular tool available, right? Particular tool, artificial intelligence. If you want to solve a problem, there are so many tools available, right? Like the numerical methods I mentioned, Gauss elimination method, Gauss Seidel method, Newton-Raphson method, or Runge-Kutta method. These are many methods. Actually, when I was teaching this computer programming for mechanical students, one part of the syllabus is numerical methods. Another part of the syllabus is Fortran programming. So I just started with the Fortran programming, but the same concept I am just extending, right? Wherever it is possible to apply in mechanical, I am applying. So I just applied to my research work also. Research work I did in MATLAB. So MATLAB is similar to C coding only, but the data I used from the images. Just to characterize the image quality, I used the data, right? So there are about 7 or 8 methods available to extract the data from the image, like the fingerprint. Fingerprint they use for your attendance in the office or institutions. They use the fingerprint for attendance. So how the fingerprint is assessed? That method is almost what I used is same as the fingerprint assessment method. So it is used in one field. I use the same field, same technique in my mechanical, right? So we can use it for any purpose. You can use it for any purpose. So because once you know the tools, list of tools available or techniques available, you can apply appropriately after understanding the problem, right? And evaluate the model, review the model, then you list out the possible actions and your decisions, right? Then again deployment, you monitor the model, and if necessary some sort of maintenance plan should be there. Finally the work is documented. So it is similar to documenting your project work. The complete model generated for physics application is documented. So this is the process they use in the data science, right? So actually we started with the computational thinking. Computational thinking, what is the data, how the data being assessed, it is a quality data or not quality data, what is the nature of the data, it is a structured data or unstructured data, it is available as a number, available as a string, or available as an image, or available as a video, whatever it is. Then how to develop the program, then how to evaluate it, and choosing the appropriate mathematical tool. Finally come to the documentation after running your model or simulating the model, right? So now this is the way we normally come across the computations in computer science. That's what I also practice, because most of the things I have done it. So in my C programming textbook, I discussed only the discrete data. The data are very structured. But in my thesis work, I used the unstructured data. Now that has been extended to computer science in some other business problem solving, and that is discussed in data science. Data science nowadays everyone uses. It is the very popular name in computer science. After computer science, it has become data science, right? So data science, because they mainly use study the techniques used in artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, IoT, all those things. How we can solve problems involving all these things, and how the suggestion can be given or monitoring can be done, and so many. Actually the output may be in any nature, discrete or suggestion or some other controlling, some other electronic or whatever it is, right? And when you choose your final year project work, you can also choose some work which covers all this. You choose a project work related to some business, right? Maybe related to computer science, or maybe in some other branch also. And you just understand the data related to that, then prepare the data, then you choose a technique and do the modeling and create the program and evaluate the program and make a document about the program after running it or using it, right? This is the way we do. Then I just go to the structured programming. Structured programming, when you do computer program, we do something in the way we think simply, or we just solve the small problem whatever way we know. But a little kind of different thinking is expected to solve computer program, to write computer program. What is that? A simple example, I choose a problem of finding the biggest of given two numbers. I use one of the methods just by comparing the two numbers. I can tell you. So comparing the two numbers, one of the numbers I can say biggest. Right. Suppose the problem is extended for three numbers. I try the same way, but with a little difficulty, I solve the problem. Right. Now someone says you find the biggest of given four numbers. Then with the great difficulty, after taking one full day or one full session, I complete the program and get the solution. Suppose they say, no, we do not know, the list is so big. It is biggest of given number, like finding the first rank holder in the examination, +2 or 10th standard examination. Who is the first rank holder, highest mark? How to find out? Now the list is so big. Lakhs of scores are available, find the highest. Lakhs of scores are available, find the highest. So it is very difficult if you follow the method which we use for finding biggest of given two numbers. So you have to think little differently, right? Little differently. How do you? So are you going to use an array, or you are not going to use array at all? If you are going to, or are you going to use a file? What is a file? Why are you going to use a file? How do you read the data from the file? So like this, how do you write the program? Using just the scalar variables will you write? Or will you use the array to solve the problem? Or will you use a file to solve the problem? These are all tools available, methods available. You can use appropriately. Depending on the nature of the problem, you can. Right. So regarding this, just I'll make a demo. By the way, you will understand what I mean. Right. I just pass on to C program. Yeah. So this program already I typed. So I think every one of you well versed with the C programming. Probably you might have used in your first semester or second semester. The scanf to read a variable value, read A, read B. Before that, we have given a print. Just to make it user friendly, it is given. Right. Now, to find the biggest of given two numbers, very simple. You make a comparison whether A is big or B is big. Right. If A is big, answer is printed. B is big, the second else part, the answer is printed. Right. Just to run it. Enter the one number, I enter 10, another number I enter 20. So it gives me the correct answer. Bigger number is 20, right? Now again the same program you have to test by giving the number in the other way. Other way means give the bigger number first, then the smaller number. You have to test for all possibilities, right? Right. Now I make a small difference. I extend it for three numbers. I extend it for three numbers. So how to read it? You need to have one more set of printf scanf. Yeah. Now I have got one more number. Now I have to declare that also. Right. Then the logic. Here you are comparing the number A, B. Immediately you cannot say which is bigger. You need to compare with the C. If A greater than C. If A greater than C, what is the meaning? A is greater than B. Again, A is greater than C. So obviously A is big. Now at this stage, you come across no. It is no. So which is big? You know very well. C is big. Print def. Yeah. Right. Suppose in the first if it fails, it will come to the else part. There you can have another if. If A compared with the B, it is no. So you have to compare B with the C. You are comparing B and C. Now it is true. That means B is greater. B is greater than first part. It's failing. Understood? B is greater. Then B is greater than C. Yes. So B is your greater number. But here it fails. Here it fails. It is understood C is the bigger number. Printf. Right. So now you are reading the three numbers, A, B, C, and your comparison done in the if loop. Then go to the program running. First number, second number, third number. I get the correct answer. Now you have to test the program with other choices. Let the first number be 20, second number 30, and last number 10. And I program is always correct. Yeah, it is giving the correct answer. I give this order. Yeah, it is giving the correct answer. Now what I do is I'll make a small difference. Now how many ifs are used here? 1, 2, 3. 3 if statements are there to get the answer. Earlier, how many? 1. Out of 2 numbers, to get the biggest, you have used 1 if. For 3, you are using 3 if loop. For 4 numbers, how do? You can write again by including one more if here, another if here, another if here, another if there. So you will be adding another 4 if statement. By the way, 7 if statements you will be using. But if I use 5 numbers, again it is increasing. But still, I will get the correct answer, but unnecessarily I am doing. So what I do is, I just use 2 numbers, right? I'll just change the logic. I introduce a third variable. I just say my first number is the bigger one. My first number. Then I do the testing whether my second number B is greater than existing big. may be true. If it is so, what is big? The second number, obviously. Right. Right. Now here the two numbers are read as usual. First number is assumed as big, then the second number compared with the big, and if it is bigger, then the first number is replaced. Finally, you just print it. It's quite simple program. Now just to save it, otherwise it may give error. Big not declared. Yeah. Now I get the correct answer. Now if you give the data in the other way also, you will get it. Anyway, we'll test it. Yes. Now, the problem is you find the biggest of given three numbers. Now three numbers. So what I do is, in the first line, A is assumed as big. Second line, I compare with the B. So while coming to the next line, either A value or B value available in if statement, available in big. So I compare the third value with the existing value of big. Right. So just I add one more if statement. I just add one more if statement, and we'll test the program now. Right. Yeah, biggest number is 30. You can test in the other possibilities also. The biggest number is 30. Correct. Biggest number is 30. Right. So all the possibilities I get the correct answer. Now what I have added is just to one more if statement I have added. I did not confuse anything. But in the previous example, when that logic was added for three numbers, the if statement itself increased. Number is increased little more. Then the complexity of the problem also increased accordingly. So if you are still sticking on to that logic, it will be increasing like that, right? You cannot get a solution for n numbers. Now you are getting the solution for three numbers. It can be extended for n numbers. N numbers, there is a big list of numbers. So when you have a big list of numbers, you can solve just using the scalar variables, or you can go for a substituted variable. When you go for a substituted variable, you have to use an array. You have to use an array. So still your data is so big, available in some other media, maybe in a disk, right? Then you will be using a file. You'll be using a file. So right. So you write the program either by using scalar variables or using array or using a file. That depending on the data, right? Now I just write it without using a file now, right? I just modify the program without using file, right? What do you have to do? You have to give in a loop. What do you have to give in a loop? Exactly. Exactly this one we give inside a loop for your I variable starting from 1 or 0, I less than n numbers, I plus plus, and you can have a list of statements inside the braces, right? Right. So what you can do is only here little bit of modification. So do you have the patience to wait for some more time, or should we go to the next item? You have to give it inside a loop. If you want to test it, I need some more time to complete it. And then what do you suggest? You feel boring means I can go to the next agenda. Or if you want to see how the program works, I'll just do it. Okay, I'll do it. I read the just number X. Sorry. First, I should know how many numbers available with you. There are n numbers. All right. Now, enter the first number. I say this is X, for example. Now, what I do is I assume the first number read is the big. Right. Then inside the loop, what I do, now I say enter the next number. Right. Now the loop is repeated for the remaining numbers. Loop is repeated for remaining numbers. First number already read, so you have to use only less than, equal, not equal. Otherwise, it will take one more. Right. Now, let me choose a list of 5 numbers. Let me choose a list of 5 numbers. I say the numbers are 25, 35, 45, then 15, then 10. The 5 numbers are like this. Now the biggest of the 5 numbers is 45. And now just we run it. Now any variable not declared, n is not declared. A, B are all not there. N. The comparison also little different. It is x taken as x. It is taken as x. I think remaining is okay. I just to read how many numbers you have. It is n numbers. First number is read and is assumed as a big. Then remaining numbers are compared. One by one, the numbers are read and are being compared in the F, and the loop is repeated for the list of numbers, right? Finally, the answer is displayed. Biggest number is, I think other variables are already declared. I say the list contains 5 numbers. The list of numbers are: one is 25, another is 35, another is 45, another is 15, another is 10. Now the answer 45 is displayed, right? Now it's a very simple program, so nothing great here, nothing great here. But I want to tell you, whatever you think should be extendable. If you think the nested if you think the nested if, it is getting increased. But if you think slightly different way, which is also possible to repeat, then quite possible to extend it for any kind of problem. So whatever you think should be of that kind, Then again, you can also use an array for this problem. Instead of reading just like a scalar variable, you can use a one-dimensional array, store all the numbers first, then do the processing, right? Then you can also use a file where all the data are stored available. You can use the same loop. Only thing, instead of a scanf, you'll be reading from the file, right? And you are repeating, right? So what I try to say is, when you think of something, the logic must be an extendable logic. Logic must be extendable, reusable logic. That is what I try to say. Probably you might have understood what I try to mean for a structured problem thinking, right? Yeah, that's all about this section. So about the structured programming, you just think a logic which can be extended. And again, C is very rich in functions and statements. Once you have a thorough knowledge with the statements and functions available, probably you can able to write a structured program easily. And I think I have contributed exactly what is required for third year students to choose their project work and go ahead with their project work. So thank you all. So now we can go ahead with the next agenda, question and answer. If you have any specific question to clarify, you can. Participants, any questions we have, you can also type in the chat box. I think no one has typed any question. You can ask or type it in the chat box.
Anybody with
Answer,
any
sir.
question?
Sir, nobody has a question.
It's right, sir.
So they
Okay.
can also type it. If any question is there, we can wait for one more chance, one more minute.
Anybody with any clarification, you can just shoot your question.
Okay, sir, we can go ahead.
Jayaranjani ma'am?
Thank you so much, sir. With great gratitude, the Department of Computer Science and Engineering is thanking you. I believe that through this webinar, all the participants are educated with the concept of computational thinking for problem solving, their characteristics, required skills, and the programmability, and so on. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We will expect your similar support in your future for our students. I'd also like to thank the management, the Arabic department, coordinators, faculty members, and the students for their enormous support. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome, Prof. Thank you.
Oh, bye.
Bye bye.